you guys to Choking Hazard. My name is Zach, and today we're going to be talking about the new Mortal Kombat movie that just came out on HBO Max. Now, I'm a Mortal Kombat fan. I really like Mortal Kombat. I like the video games. I love the OG video games. Like, those are my favorite. I mean, I used to play those things up till like 3 o'clock in the morning with my bros, and you're just sitting on the couch, just messing around. My bros would get mad at me for just spamming one button. But anyways, that's not a part of this review. I also like the old Mortal Kombat movies. They were very campy. The acting could have been a little better. You know, that's maybe a little bit of an understatement. The action scenes could be a little goofy. But they were guilty pleasure movies. I like them still to this day. I actually recently watched the old movies just to see if my nostalgia goggles were on, because I watched those movies when I was a kid, so I could just be, it just might just all be nostalgia for me. But actually, I thought the movies were even entertaining to this day, so that was why I was kind of confused why this movie bothered me as much as it did, on how, I don't want to say boring, on how underwhelming it was compared to the old movies. And let me try to explain why. So, the only thing that I wanted in a Mortal Kombat movie is have my characters that I love and I've played for, or played with. I guess that, I don't know if that sounds right or not. The characters that I played with in the video game, I'd like to see them interact in interesting ways with other characters from the video game. That and cool fight scenes. Those are the only two things that I wanted out of a Mortal Kombat movie. And I feel like they kind of fucked that up in this movie a little bit. I know that there's like 100-something characters in Mortal Kombat, so you can't showcase them all. I get that. You also won't be able to, really get down into each character's lore, because there's lore between each character. You usually have to like read that shit or go through like the little video clips in the video game to really understand each character's backstory. And I know they're not going to go through the whole backstory of every character. It'd just be too much. The movie would be very cluttered if that happened. Problem is that there's almost no characterization. There's no personality between the characters in this movie. There's almost none. There's one character that I know specifically I really liked in this movie, and that's Kano. Kano was like the embodiment. Whoever played him, I probably should look it up just for this review, but the guy who played him just like, he just showcased the perfect form of Kano, and he basically just encapsulated what Kano was in the video games and threw that on the big screen. And what made him cool too is the fact that he would interact with the characters whenever they would say something goofy, very campy, kind of, they had a little bit of that cheese in this movie too, and he would make fun of shit like that, because he almost is like a regular dude from the normal world interacting with this new world that has all this like magic and shit like that. So he had a lot of funny things to say, and he's a dick and he's an asshole, and he has very funny things to banter with other characters about. So I liked Kano. Kano was literally the best character in this entire movie, like hands down. I don't know if anyone can argue otherwise, because every other character in this movie was just a block of wood. You might as well just put it like a cardboard person with like a smiley face for most of these characters. I mean, Liu Kang was just like, Liu Kang's one of my favorite characters. The two characters that I liked was Johnny Cage and Liu Kang. Johnny Cage isn't in this movie. They kind of, I'm not going to spoil anything with Johnny Cage. There's like a hint that he might be in like another movie sometime, so there's that. But Liu Kang was the main character in those other older movies, and I was expecting him to have a lot more screen time in this, considering he's one of the good guy characters, but man, they did nothing with him, like nothing at all. And that goes for every other character, including Cole. By the way, Cole in this movie, Cole's the main character. He's like a boxer, like an MMA fighter from the real world. He is a new character that actually isn't in the Mortal Kombat universe. They just kind of added him for this movie. He's the character that you're seeing through, he's the main character, he's the protagonist. Problem is that he's like so bland as a character that I just don't understand why they didn't just like use one of the current cast of characters. There's like 100 fucking people. I mean, they could have used a lot of different people for that. They could have blindfolded themselves and threw a dart at a dartboard and just been like, okay, he's the main character, and it would probably been better than in this case. Because the thing is, like, I'm not one of those people that are just like, you can't use a character, you can't make up a new character, you have to use characters from the video game. I'm not like, I'm okay with having like a character that's more resembles humans on the earth that are not in this magical fighting realm like Liu Kang, and they didn't like add anything to the movie by adding this character named Cole. They just didn't add anything. That's my problem with it. If they would have added something to the movie that would have made us like kind of connect with the character a little bit better, I'd be fine with it. But they just didn't. They didn't do anything with him to do that. So then I ask myself, I'm like, why would they even add this character in the movie? The only other thing I can really talk about now, because the characterization I kind of beat to death already, is the fight scenes. And there's some cool gory scenes, but we're all expecting that shit in a Mortal Kombat movie. There should be some gory fatality sort of sequences, which they do have. But let me just go ahead and tell you this. This is kind of like the storyline. This storyline isn't the tournament arc about like saving the world and stuff like that, because it kind of, generally speaking, what the tournament arc is about is like people are fighting for their realm, I guess you'd say. So in this movie, we're not at that moment yet. That's going to be like the next movie that they're alluding to. In this movie, it's basically the good guys finding their team that they're going to use to fight off, in this great tournament later. So they don't have the full cast of characters yet. As I said, like Johnny Cage isn't in this movie. Plenty of other characters aren't in this movie. So there's that. But because it's not a tournament movie, there's not actually a lot of like fight scenes in this movie. A lot of it is them either running away to escape certain fights, because they're just not powerful enough yet. And then the fights that they do have, like there's one in the beginning, and there's a couple at the end. Like, the end of the movie is definitely the best part. And some of these fight scenes are just, like, they're either done so fast. They're just, like, a blink of an eye, and then boom, they're done. And you're just like, that was the fight scene? Ugh, like, I wish there was more. Or the fight scene is very boring to watch, because it will be, like, one person without powers just kind of trying to just fend himself off from a person who has powers. I'm trying not to spoil anything by saying that. And then there's only a couple of fights, and then the fight just ends so fast that you don't really get like that like build up of like tension that you want in a fight scene, And that's one of the problems of this movie. It's just there's not that many fights compared to what I was at least thinking about in a Mortal fucking Kombat movie. And the fights that do happen are not really what I was expecting. There's a couple scenes that like I was just like, good job, I like that. But then other than those couple scenes, everything else was just kind of like, it just didn't feel Mortal Kombat-like to me, if that makes any sense. So that's my review, guys. If I say anything else, I'm going to be spoiling something, so I'm trying to keep this shit as like vague as possible. But yeah, also too, sorry, I was just about to end it, but if you're expecting a lot of fights between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, it's just not in this movie. I was expecting that just from the trailers and from like the cover poster of the movie. But Scorpion is basically not in this movie. I'll just tell you right now. He's just not in this movie. So if you're expecting Scorpion and he's like your favorite character and you just to Scorpion, he's not in this movie and you're going to be upset. So there's that. But yeah, other than that, the movie was just it was just all right. Like I watched it and I wasn't like, I didn't want to like kill myself after watching it or anything like that. I was being like okay entertained, but it was nothing like I'm just not gonna remember the movie. You know what I mean? It's not gonna stick with me. It's just very milk toast of a movie for me. So I think if I was gonna give this movie a rating, it'd be like a D+. And
you stink!
I could give it a C. It's just that for a Mortal Kombat movie, I feel like it's very easy to just make the fans happy. We're not expecting much. We're not expecting some sort of amazing movie. So if you're gonna let us down on like the basic things that we want, just cool interactions and quirky, fun dialogue between characters and cool fight scenes, and you kind of fuck that up, I'm not gonna give you a C. You know what I mean? I'm gonna give you a D. I think you deserve a D. So that's my review, guys. If you guys just disagree with me, post it down below and talk shit about me. That's cool with me. Or if you agree with me and you want to stroke my ego, also put it down below. If you like this type of content, please subscribe. Love you guys so much, and see ya. Hey, you made it to the end. That means you must enjoy my content, so go ahead and tap that subscribe button for me. And if you don't like my content, subscribe anyways. My videos are proven to make your schlong longer. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram for discussions and movie topics. And thank you so much for the support. You guys are awesome. See ya.